All the stuff we've been through? Rush Hour 1, Rush Hour 2?
That one, that is the highest point.
All the stuff we've been through?
That's the highest point in U.S. China relations. Oh, that was good. I saw that on Patrick Bet-David, and I was like, yeah, why not just put it? Have some humor to begin the live. Welcome back to Married Truth Talks. If you haven't subscribed to become a truth seeker, subscribe right now, real quick. Smash that like button, subscribe, share, and let's get on with it. Oh, before I forget, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, Mary_Truths. That's Mary, Mary _Truths with an S. And my name, because I've been sharing my name now, because I'm not afraid to say my real name. Marianne, okay? I was told not too long ago that my name is ew, because it's Hebrew, and apparently now it's disgusting to have any connections to the Jews, even though I'm not Jewish, but my name is Hebrew, so I guess I have some type of connection. But yeah, my name is Marianne. That's Marian. I hate it when people say Marianne. It pisses me off. The easiest way for Laz to get me upset is by calling me Marianne. He knows it really grinds me.
Or Anne Marie.
Oh, stop. I just don't like it. I don't like it. Like, I like my name being said the right way, especially when you say it in Spanish, because in Spanish, it has sauce to it. Marianne, you know? In English, it's not the same. But that's my name, guys. Weird out. All right, so let's begin. So because I had to show that first, so obviously we're going to talk about the trade war with China. We're actually in one now, so fun times. We're going to talk about immigration. Activist judge gets shut down by the Supreme Court, which we knew that was going to happen. And then Texas has some issues now with the law. Well, not Texas, but a Texas student stabbed student in the chest and claimed self-defense. We got to talk about that. And a little bit of science for you. Harvard scientist claims Mars was wiped out by nuclear war. Laz, I'm sure, has a lot to say about that.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, I figured he would say that. So let's get on with it, shall we? Let's start with trade war with China. A lot here to unpack. I'm actually, before I even begin, just to clue you in, before I even begin, I actually did not know I was going to get this far. For anybody who's been following me, I was actually pretty naive about this. I thought they weren't going to play hardball because they have the money to pay the tariff, so I didn't think they were going to be like the ones that are going to fight. I thought it was going to be Mexico and Canada, but I was very wrong about this. Very, very wrong. So let's go.
Now, Gordon Chang joins me here in New York City. Obvious question, Gordon. Who suffers the most in this trade war, China or the United States?
Well, China does. First of all, its economy is probably contracting. We saw this from the price data for March, where both consumer and producer prices were below zero. Also, the thing is, they're having their 2008 right now. You know, in 2008, they didn't want a downturn. They overstimulated, took on a lot of debt. Now they got to deal with the debt. Property market is collapsing. And then Trump says we're having this tariff war. And what this does is it really closes off China's biggest market, the United States. Mm-hmm. So these 145% tariffs, most Chinese goods don't get into the U.S. because of that. Now, the only way that Xi Jinping can win this trade war is if he can convince President Trump, who's holding all the high cards from an objective point of view. The only way Xi Jinping wins is if he can get Wall Street or Main Street or the farmers to force Trump to back down preemptively. I don't think that's going to happen because our president's pretty determined.
Could he unleash, Xi Jinping, could he unleash financial warfare? China holds $760 billion worth of treasury debt. If they sell some of it, prices go down and our interest rates go up. He could do that.
He could do that, but he probably is not going to because that has a lot of effect on the renminbi. Remember, he wants to sell U.S. dollar debt because he needs to prop up his currency, but he needs to do it in a controlled manner. If he crashes the U.S. dollar, which he probably could do, it's lights out for him. So I don't think he's going to do that. He's got a lot more vulnerabilities than we do. We're the bigger economy. We're the trade deficit economy. We hold the high cards.
Now, Xi Jinping is about to embark on a tour of Southeast Asia, touring his neighbors. He's looking for support, isn't he? He wants them to gang up with Xi Jinping against America. Is that going to happen?
I don't really think so. The problem here is that Xi Jinping now has a lot of goods he's not selling to the U.S. He needs to sell them to ASEAN. These are ASEAN countries. Maybe they'll take a few more, but probably not, because they don't want the Chinese to decimate their own internal industries. So I think Xi Jinping's going to have a hard time. He'll get these guys to say some very lovely things, but I don't think they're going to move on substantive points.
Okay. According to the Wall Street Journal, Chinese officials held a secret meeting. It was amongst themselves. They acknowledged their role in the cyber attacks on American infrastructure. Responding to that story, Chinese embassy spokesman says China firmly opposes the smear attacks against China without any factual basis. The U.S. needs to stop using cybersecurity to smear and slander China and stop spreading all kinds of disinformation about the so-called Chinese hacking threats. We urge the U.S. to adopt a responsible attitude and take a harder look at itself rather than vilifying others. Why do you say that is ominous?
It's because, we've known for decades that the Chinese have gone after our infrastructure and critical infrastructure with cyber. But the point is now the Chinese are actually admitting it to the United States. That's basically saying, you don't scare us anymore, U.S. U.S., you're not deterring us. And I think that betrays a different mentality in Beijing, a very arrogant one, a very belligerent one, one that really hates the U.S. So, anything can happen when they're not deterred.
Their cyber attacks can hurt us. Do we have the capacity to cyber attack them and hurt them?
Yeah, I think that we do. We don't
We're not going to say anything about it, though, are we?
We're not going to say very much about it. We need to be better at cyber, though, because the Pentagon just is not as good as it needs to be on something.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So, that's one of them. But before we get into the other one, okay. So, just to really unpack really quick about what's going on, this is really affecting the Chinese people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I didn't think that they would retaliate, because they're very nationalist, which is something that we're learning actually from them and from other countries, because we were not nationalists at all. We've been globalist for a very long time. In fact, just to clue you in, because I've been telling you how I'm gonna tell you how I decided to leave college. So when I was in FIU studying politics, I realized how globalist we've become. Like in politics, when you're at least in Florida University, Florida International University, they really push the globalist mentality onto you. So if you're a nationalist, you are a problem in your class. So while everybody was very pro-globalism, I was very anti-globalism. I was very, why do we have to, help all these countries? Why do we have to fund all these countries? Why are we focusing on the homeland? That was my position at the time. Now it's even more, because now I'm understanding it even deeper, because now I have more time on my hands to be able to look into this more. But even in school, they indoctrinate you to become a globalist, okay? And then I saw these videos of Pelosi and Schumer back in the day, I think it was the 80s, I believe, or the 90s, literally talking about how China is screwing us with tariffs and how we're decimating the middle class and how we're, getting taking our factories away and giving them to them, and they just flipped their switch. And I thought to myself, why would you do that? And it's because they bought into the globalist agenda, because they realize they're going to make a lot of money with the whole globalist movement. This whole, we're all one government, eventually. That's what the globalists want. They don't want nationalism. They don't want countries to be sovereign. That's not what they want. And to be frank, the globalists want the Chinese type of structure. That's what they want. This super controlled system where you can't really be independent, at least not like you can here. You have this illusion of independence over there, but you're not really independent. The amount of money you make over there is just enough to survive. And the working conditions are terrible. They don't care about the environment. It's filled with pollution over there. We know family members that have gone to China and they love it because all they see is what the tourists are meant to see. They don't see all the other shit on China. They don't see how people are living literally like in a box over there. They don't see how there's still child labor over there, even though legally in the books they're against that. But they don't see how fentanyl is being manufactured in China and shipped to Mexico to be then imported to the United States. None of that. In fact, the Chinese people don't even fucking know what's going on in their own country because they have a massive firewall that was, by the way, exposed because Edward Snowden exposed it. When Edward Snowden exposed the massive surveillance in the U.S., he exposed everybody's surveillance, not just the United States. So kudos to him in that regard. But the Chinese people don't know what the fuck is going on in their own country. I bet you that they think Trump is the reason why they're losing their jobs. But whatever. That's what I think. I don't fucking know. I don't know anybody from China. I mean, we go to this place. Anybody who lives, like, for everybody who lives in Miami and you like to like drink, have like Asian food. There's this place called Good Chef. You gotta go. It's on Bird Road. It's amazing. But we met somebody there who is Chinese. And they left China, but China's influence is so strong, they strongly believe that we should be more like China. Instead of China should be more like us, we should be more like China. That's the problem. That is a huge problem because China is communist. Just because it has like some capitalist, going on, thanks to Nixon, doesn't change the fact that they are a communist country. They don't believe in real liberty. They don't have an actual constitution. Nobody can have a fucking gun there. Nobody can defend themselves from the government. You are a slave to the country. So people that leave China and come here, they know why they left. At least the people that like the older generations, they know why they left.
Yeah, speaking about older generations, so it seems like every time we talk to a Chinese person, which we've talked to a few already, the ones with the ideology of, U.S. should be more like China, yada, yada, usually the younger people. Right. The older people are more, screw China, they're commie.
Because they don't know what happened.
Right, so just like it's the newer generations that they're just indoctrinated.
Yeah, like they don't know that their country literally committed genocide on their own people. Like that's
that's what happens when you live in a communist country. The victor writes the history, right? They rewrite history, and the ones who get taught the history are the children in the schools, right? And that's why it's called his story, because the victors rewrite history.
Dude, they have school on Saturdays. What the fuck?
Yeah, they only have one day off.
Like, do you understand that? Like, what type of child is happy over there? Listen, bro, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that we don't have good education here because we don't take it seriously. But there has to be a balance, and putting so much pressure on kids, on that level to where they don't even have like 2 days off from school is ridiculous. Like, come on, dude. Like, they're kids. They're not adults. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's why their culture is very, like that. Yeah, very like machine-like. Everything is factory settings.
Yeah, everything
from birth till you die.
Yeah,
that's why the way they think is very like industrial, very like
robotic. As hell. That's why. I mean, we're gonna get more into this, but I have a theory about the Chinese government, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to put my tinfoil hat just yet. Let's go to this guy.
But I want to make something clear though about that. What we just said. Like, it's not that all Chinese people are robotic, but like the culture leans towards that like mentality. Because there's Chinese people who are super creative. I met some, but the point is that the way they're being indoctrinated is like that. Like work. You're a machine, and you just gotta produce.
And they're just so connected. They're so on their phones.
Yeah.
Like they're so. I mean, we are too, but I don't know. It's just. I don't know. For them, it's more like they're like embedded in the phone, literally, at all times. So I don't know. It's just it's weird. I don't know. Just like I wouldn't go to Cuba and I was born there. I don't know if I would go to China because I'm seeing it as like I'm giving my money to a communist party. And if I wouldn't give my money to the communist party I was born in, I would not give it to the Chinese Communist Party. Whatever. To those who do, kudos to you. I wouldn't. That's just me. That's my opinion there. All right, so let's move on to the next one. This one's awesome. This guy doesn't give a fuck. This is a guy who wants to buy TikTok, by the way. Fun fact. All right, I'm ready.
What happens if we go into a full-scale trade war?
Look, it's really ugly. This president won the election based on reducing costs.
It's really ugly.
But he's enacted the largest tax increase we've seen in over 50 years. And you know who's going to pay the price? Americans shopping at Walmart, Americans shopping at Costco. We don't know the purpose of these tariffs. The only thing we do know is he's planning on taking tax revenue from Americans paying more at Walmart and Costco and putting that into tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans. It's totally gross, and it's putting us on the brink of a recession. It could cost us tons of manufacturing jobs as we get into this trade war. It's a really disturbing policy. I hope he backs off.
But Kevin, he said there's a lot of deals that they're literally kissing his ass was the phrase he used, very eloquently. Where are the deals?
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. Yep. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that
I
look
want
like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration.
Let me just chime in on that real quick. That is so true. China has been screwing us for the longest time, and people just don't really understand how bad it is.
He just said he does business with China and he can't even defend himself in their legal system. And these idiots are like, they completely glossed over that. And they're like, you want 100 and whatever, 400% tariffs? Like, bitch, did you not hear what he just said? He is an investor. You're not. He's the one with the experience of how bad their business practices are, or lack of, better said. And you just completely ignored that because you don't care about people like him at all. You're focusing on the propaganda. Oh, if you raise their tariffs, then the middle class are going to eat, they're going to eat it. Dude, inflation has raised goods anyway, and we're already eating it.
Yeah, it's like people, like they're trying to scare people like with this short-term mentality of, oh, the prices are going to go up. Oh, this and that. Bro, the prices have been going up.
Exactly.
They have not been getting better.
Yeah.
At least this is a change. Yeah, things are going to probably get worse before they get better. But in the long run, it's for the better of the U.S. and just the people in general. Exactly. Yeah, we're going to feel it maybe for a month, maybe two, maybe. But then eventually it's gonna balance itself out.
And for the world, too, if you really think about it. Because if they can screw us, they can screw anybody else. We are the biggest, most powerful country. We're like the big bully. So if you can screw with the big bully, then you can screw with anybody else.
I'd rather have this like extreme sudden change that could possibly bring about a positive change in the future than just a slow grind to fucking death.
Yeah.
You know, this slow grind that it seems like it's just never going to end. The prices just keep going up slowly. You don't feel it at first because over time, whatever. But when you look back, bro, back in early 2000s, with $20, you can fill a freaking cart of food, bro. A shopping cart. Insane. And now you be lucky with even $100 if you can fill your cart.
No, impossible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'd be lucky.
Impossible. Maybe if you go to the dollar store, but you're not gonna fill your car. Not even if you go to Presidente, which is like a cheap market.
And it's not just
in Miami.
And it's not just food. Food is just the daily thing. So obviously it's the most critical thing because we need food to live.
Exactly.
But dude, wages they haven't gone up. Wages they've stayed almost the same. Right? And then we have homes. To buy a home now, bro, we can't buy homes.
Even now, like I said in the past, I'm looking at the market for homes in Miami. People are dropping their prices, but not enough. Like, you're seeing a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house for $400,000, and they had dropped their prices. They had dropped the price $25,000. You still haven't dropped it enough, motherfucker, because a two-bedroom, 2-bath house does not cost $400,000 fucking dollars.
Didn't you tell me there was a 2-bed, 1-bath for like $500,000?
Yes.
That's ridiculous. That shouldn't be that much.
It was in South Miami. It was $600,000. It was more than $500,000. It was $600,000.
I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into the the housing and the prices and all that, but
no, dude, I'm sorry. A 2-bedroom house should not cost $400,000, no matter where it's at. Como si estaban like in Coral Gables. It's 2 bedrooms. 2. Back in the days, the amount of bedrooms would increase the value of the house. So why the hell are you increasing? Why is a house like originally was 3? That the house that was 3 bedrooms back in the day was $300,000, and that was not that long ago. That was what, 8 years ago? It hasn't been that long, and now the 3-bedroom house is almost $1 million, and then the 2-bedroom house is $400, $500. That is not okay. And people are dropping their prices, but it's not enough. You have to drop your price significantly and come back to reality, because a 2-bedroom house does not cost $400,000. I'm sorry. It's 2 bedrooms. It's not 3 bedrooms. It's 2 bedrooms with renovations needed. And that's the majority of Miami-Dade. I don't know about anywhere else. I'm just talking about where we live. It is one of the most expensive cities in the country. I get that. But it doesn't change the fact that people need to lower their prices and stop taking advantage of the fact that inflation is still a thing. That's wrong. Because you know that your house is not worth $400,000. Get the fuck out of here. It's just... And
then the problem is, too, you have these wealthy foreigners that come
from the countries, don't even get me started with that.
Which are able to pay these prices.
Which doesn't help. You're only screwing us over, the people that live here.
Now the Americans, the people who live, work, and bleed in this country, you can't even purchase a home because we have these foreigners coming from other countries.
Fuck the foreigners.
With fucking daddy's money or fuck you money or generational wealth. We can't compete with that.
Forget about the foreigners. The real estate companies are the real problem.
Oh, 100%.
The freaking Lennars, the BlackRocks, those motherfuckers are the ones who are really destroying it, because we're competing with companies. That should be criminal. We should not have to compete with BlackRock or Lennar to buy a house.
So you can't compete.
You can't. But Impossible. We shouldn't have to. They should not be allowed to just buy a shit ton of land and build properties that are townhouses, by the way, not even
companies
homes.
like BlackRock and Lennar, especially BlackRock. It's the ultimate capitalist. It's like the dark side of capitalism. You know what I'm saying? It's the worst nightmare of what capitalism can become. And we have to stop.
But I wouldn't consider that capitalism at all.
Well, I mean, they got to that point. They got to that point through capitalism, from purchasing, buying things.
What is that called? Cronyism, capitalism, something along those lines. Cronyism, some shit like that. But that's not capitalism, bro. That's that. They're technically monopolies of real estate companies that are buying land, and they're creating brand new homes that are not even single families. They're mainly townhouses, and they're $1 million and up, which is not okay, because middle class people are not millionaires. I think I saw 10% of people make over $150,000. 10%. That's nothing. The majority of people are making less than $100,000 a year.
Yeah, it's insane.
So how are you going to tell me that it's okay for BlackRock to be building homes that are double, triple what a average middle class family can actually afford? Aren't you supposed to be serving the middle class? Like, you're not. Who the fuck are you serving? So they need to do something about that. But this whole tariff shit is just, to me, it's bullshit, because at the end of the day, it needs to happen. I finally realized what Trump was trying to do. Again, I'm speculating. I don't fucking know anything. But what I'm assuming is he scared all these countries. They all squealed. They all begged. And he said, okay, I can trust all of them because they came running to me to negotiate. And the only one who didn't was China, because China thought they were big enough.
But here's the
not
thing.
To.
Yeah, he was expecting that.
Yeah, right. He
was expecting China not to give in, not to cave.
Yeah.
Because China thinks they're the big shot right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But the truth is they need us. Without us, they do not exist. Granted, we need them as well, but we're the buyer. We're the one with the money.
Right.
What's China's GDP? Wasn't it like 18 bill?
Yeah.
No, there's a trill.
19.
Is it trill or bill?
I don't remember. I think it was bill. I don't think it was trill. They don't pay their employees the same amount that we do. I don't remember if it was. I know it was less than us.
No, yeah, I know it's significantly less.
A lot less than us.
It's true.
Okay.
So 17 trill. That was it. That was 2023. It went to 18.
No, but you checked on ChatGPT. It's 19 trillion.
Yeah, it was 19 trillion this last year.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were like 26 trill. And most of that GDP is coming from us that they're getting.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have an economy.
Right.
They rely on us to buy their
they
products.
don't have a domestic economy. They have an international economy because they're globalists. They're fucking
But the
globalists.
point is, these tariffs, people don't understand. They needed to do these tariffs. This needed to happen. This is the only way to get what we need, which is for everybody, including China, to lower their bullshit tariffs on us.
Yeah. And not only that, it's not even about, it's about getting the companies out of China into the U.S. Like this guy is talking about how it takes about like 4 years or more for a company to fully transition. So it's not just that. Like that's gonna take a long time. It's literally to get China to bend the knee to where they kiss our feet. Literally, like that's where they need to be. They need to be humbled the fuck down. Because at the end of the day, we made them. We gave them our market thanks to Nixon, and then also thanks to Obama. Obama made it so much worse than Nixon did. So much worse. So because that's just the reality, they don't want to accept that to be true, and they're trying to play hardball. So this whole fiasco was just to get them to get cornered in order for them to call. And they still haven't called publicly. Maybe privately they're calling and trying to make a deal here, but publicly they haven't said shit. They're still playing hardball publicly. And the reason why I think they're doing that is because they're a communist country, they only have one party. That's why that doesn't fucking work. So because they only have one party, they can't seem like they're humbling down. That's not like part of, that's not an option for them. Because their politics is very, we're Chinese, we're, the big, they have, what isn't that part of their culture? They're very, or is that Japan? Japan's all about honor.
Yeah, no.
But so is China. China's
yeah,
all about respect.
But it's more of the Japanese way. Like it's more emphasized over there.
But isn't Chinese also like it's all about respect and like they can't look weak or whatever.
The bravado aspect of it. Yeah. They can't look weak and this and that. Yeah, of course. But the whole respect and this and that. That's more an honor. That's more Japanese.
It's more Japanese. But even Japanese people, even though they're all about honor, they were the first ones to the table when they got tariffed. They were the first ones, and Israel was the second one. So even them, who are all about honor, they were smart enough to be like, yeah, I'm not gonna fight this war. I'm calling up Trump. So I don't understand.
Anyway, let's continue this video.
Yeah.
For decades, as someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally,
sounds like the
an
CIA.
administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed.
Yep.
If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
All right. I love this guy. Squeeze Chinese head. He's pissed because he knows, he felt it. He experienced it. What's up, Jose Leon? Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you.
Yo, what's up? Welcome.
Tell me what you think about this trade war. If you think it's wise, if it's not wise, tell me what you think.
And yeah, man, the problem is not like the people. The people are great. They're super great, studious, working people, you know?
Yeah.
They like to get shit done, and they're great. But their government is terrible.
Yep. Yeah.
Government's terrible.
They're terrible.
And something needs to happen.
But the government is terrible because they only have one party. So there's no debate. There's no discussion. There's no nothing. It's just, this is the way, and that's it. And
you know what it is? That they can literally steal your idea and then sell it in their market for way cheaper, pennies on the dime.
Yep.
And you can't even sue them for it. They can sue you.
Yep.
They can sue you for you selling the thing you created that they stole from you.
Insane.
Where's the logic in that? That's not fair.
The fact that we've allowed that to happen for so long is ridiculous. Like,
that's aiding and abetting criminal activity, like theft.
Literally. Literally.
What? That doesn't. It just doesn't fit in my head. It just doesn't.
I just think that these tariffs are also opening up the reality of what the Chinese government has been doing to businesses for so many years and to American people for so many years, that this is just kind of unplugging the truth. And now the light is here. We are fully seeing what the Chinese government is all about. And those of us who voted for Trump are like, yeah, no, totally go for it. 1,000% tariffs. This guy said it the other day. He's saying it 400% there. He raised that shit. He's like, 1,000%. I want these motherfuckers on their knees. And I'm totally for it. So let's move on to the next one here. This is sad. This is a reality of Chinese people. This is very sad. It's a
So after making this video this morning, I went down a rabbit hole and I started looking at more videos about Chinese factories. It made me really sad, but I'll describe this to you. So she is a graduate, master's degree. She now works in the factory. When she goes into the factory, she has to scan into the locker area where she changes into the factory outfit. You just see rows, like endless rows, and just down the hall of lockers marked by different numbers. You get the facial recognition to go in. People really don't have this concept of day and night because you have different shifts. Even the entrance looks like a check stop. You see just people everywhere on their phones. I think this is honestly more realistic. She talks about how there's really no life outside of her work and how she's being oppressed by the factory to do hard labor all the time. Yeah, I think this is more like the reality of the workers. Obviously, they're trying to make ends meet with the amount of money that they can make, which is pretty good for people that, may not otherwise have other kinds of jobs available to them.
Very, very sad that they have to literally be working in factories, and they don't do 8-hour shifts like we do. They don't, they work longer hours.
Yeah, 12-hour shifts and up probably.
And they don't have the same benefits that we do, and they probably don't even get the same amount of breaks that we do. And it's just totally different culture when it comes to labor, and their work ethic is way more extreme than, the way they treat their children says how extreme their work ethic is. If they're going to tell their kids, sorry, you can only have Sundays off, I can only imagine what the adults have off. You know, how many days do they have off? Any days? Do they have any days off? Do they get like PTO? Do they get 401ks? Like, you know, it makes you really wonder how bad it is.
And the sad thing is, Jose mentioned, there's videos going around of factories that are just completely just empty.
Yep.
Completely empty. You know, once these tariffs went up, I mean, they had to close these factories down. They can't afford to pay these tariffs.
What I want to know is, do these Chinese people even know why their factories are being shut down?
So I've seen some videos where they talk about they're not blaming Trump, they're blaming their own government.
Okay, that's good.
Then again, there's other people saying the opposite. Oh, it's Trump's fault. Oh, because of Trump, I can't complete my work orders and I have to shut my factory down, this and that. So I think it's kind of like a 50-50 right now, at least from what I've seen. But it's unfortunate that these working people that they've worked their whole lives to open these factories and get to where they are, they have to now pretty much lose their business.
Yep.
I mean, it's how long can they actually go without manufacturing? Not very long, I'm assuming, before they have to close it down. And that actually does hurt us too, which is what I was telling Mary. It's like it's gonna be a short-term hurt. It's gonna get worse before it gets better, but it's a necessary evil to get to the point where we need to be. Because there's people that also do the Amazon thing, drop shipping.
Yep, drop shipping.
And those people are going to feel it too. Mm-hmm. Those people are going to feel it too.
Yeah, they're going to feel it the most.
But the problem is your business, the kind of business that you have, is just, you're propagating this. Like, you're part of the problem too. Mm-hmm. You're part of the problem.
Like, why are you relying on another country to make your product when you should be making it here? You know, it's just, you are part of the problem.
Would drop shipping work if you did it here?
Yeah, it just, of course.
I wonder.
It's just get the factory here. Printful is American.
I mean, if you think about it, it would actually even be cheaper. Not in the sense of like materials, but in the sense of shipping at least.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the materials could also be cheaper. Who knows? Let's go on to the next one. The next short. This is, I think it talks about what Jose was bringing up.
The United States has imposed heavy tariffs on Chinese goods, aiming to reduce the trade deficit. These tariffs are essentially taxes on imports, making Chinese products more expensive. The rates have reached as high as 145%, significantly impacting trade. This trade war is hurting businesses in both countries, leading to economic uncertainty. Guangzhou, a major manufacturing hub in China, is feeling the pain, with many factories struggling to stay open. The clothing industry in Guangzhou is in a deepening crisis, affecting the local economy and livelihoods. Garment factories are closing their doors, unable to sustain operations. Thousands of workers are losing their jobs, facing an uncertain future. The trade war is hurting both China and the US, causing significant economic strain on both nations. American consumers face higher prices, leading to decreased spending and financial stress for many families. Economists predict a recession, warning that the global economy could suffer long-term consequences.
Yeah, okay. No, it's not.
The trade war is creating political tensions. Lawmakers question Trump's strategy. Factory workers in Guangzhou are anxious.
All right, and last one is extremely important. This girl is amazing. By the way, before I put her, this is a liberal who voted for Trump, who is Jewish. All right, just putting that out there. Put her, please.
The reason people want to go back to the 70s is in the 70s, the largest share of our GDP was in the middle class. And that was not separate from the fact that 25% of our economy was in manufacturing.
Right, the largest share of our GDP
was in the middle class, the biggest chunk, the middle class,
most
people
of
who
what
were
was
middle
produced
income.
Came from the middle, and now it comes from what? The rich.
Now the top 20% controls over 50% of the GDP. Our economy was an upward funnel of wealth, and the largest share, which used to be in manufacturing, which gave a lot of working class people a middle class standard of living, now the largest share is in real estate and finance, meaning that asset-rich Americans are controlling over 50% of the GDP. And the reason—
Incredible, huh? The 70s. By the way, Nixon was the president in the 70s. So even though he opened the market to China, our economy was actually really good during his time. That's why even though a lot of people don't like him as far as, he did open the doors for China, and China, was able to start making money thanks to Nixon. But we were doing really, really good economically at that time. So we didn't really think that was going to be a bad idea long term, because in that moment we were doing fantastic. We were in the golden age in the 1970s. So I thought that was interesting that she brought that up. She also came on Piers Morgan and gave her spiel there. And then of course Cenk Uygur was totally against it, which is interesting because Cenk is a progressive. She is a liberal, and you can really see the paradigm of the difference between a liberal and a progressive. And there's a massive difference. A liberal believes in the middle class being the backbone of the country, which is what America's always been. That is what capitalism should be, is the middle class being the backbone of the country. Not the rich. The rich is the 1% for a reason. They're not supposed to be the backbone. But then the progressives, they claim they're populist and they claim they're for the middle class, but they're actual globalists. Like they don't understand the whole tariffs thing. They don't understand that we need to bring manufacturing back. They don't understand why we have to tariff all these countries, especially China. Like the progressives don't actually want the middle class to be the backbone. They don't. They just, it's on ideology. They want you to believe that's what they believe, but in practice, they don't give a fuck about that. They don't. They assume that Kamala was going to be a better choice. That's because, they voted for Kamala, so they think that giving people $20,000 to buy a house is definitely going to be what's going to save, the middle class, which is ridiculous. It's socialism on steroids, and it just pumps more money into the economy, making everything even more expensive, even more inflation. So progressives don't actually care about the middle class. The liberals do, and that's why I made a recent reel saying the liberals have to fight for the Democrat Party, because right now the progressives are completely taking over the party, and that's why their polls are like fucking put a piece through the floor.
Yeah, it's crazy. Jose says Trump said that we're gonna feel some pain.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's what we were saying earlier. It's, you know what? I'd rather feel the pain. I'd rather staple the wound shut, feel the pain now, than let it bleed out.
Exactly.
Over time.
Yep.
That's what was happening. That's what was happening. Yep. We were slowly being drained by China.
Yep. And the progressives are like, no, it's okay. We'll survive. We have plenty of blood. Like, no, dude. No. We don't. We don't have plenty of blood. Wake the fuck up. Like, get out of here, bro. And the liberals are finally like, nah, bro, you're insane. Get the fuck out of the political atmosphere if you're gonna fucking be talking all that crazy shit. So, is that the last one? That's the last short?
That is, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's move on to immigration. So the activist judge that put a block on the Alien Enemies Act to be used to kind of expedite deportations to El Salvador was shut down by the Supreme Court. Woohoo! It wasn't the win I wanted. It wasn't like a full win, but it was still a win. So check it out.
The Supreme Court has lifted a federal judge's order that blocked the Trump administration from using a centuries-old wartime law called the Alien Enemies Act to deport migrants to El Salvador. CBS News Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen joins us on the phone. Jake, explain to us what the Supreme Court decided, and does this mean those flights can continue?
Yes, it
Lindsay,
does.
So this means that Judge Boasberg's order that blocked the future use of...
Damn, does she have a black eye? Yeah, she didn't finish her makeup. I had to point that out.
I wouldn't. I can't tell you.
Oh, you can't see it.
Oh wait, no, they did her makeup, like they did it too fast or something. Way too fast.
Oh jeez.
to deport alleged Tren de Aragua gang members can continue. So there were about 200 to 300, according to court filings, people out there in the United States, either in government custody or that the government is aware of, that they have wanted to deport. Some of them have been deported. The administration has touted through other immigration measures, but not everyone has been deported yet. So they're allowed to use that. But this case was really not the big win that the Trump administration has been saying and touting on social media that it is. It kind of was on two different fronts. On one front, it says that any challenges to where people are being detained and to get people free from potential deportation efforts and to have their, cases adjudicated, those cases need to be done actually where they're being detained, like in Louisiana, which has been where so many of these people have been held, or in Texas. They can't just be brought in Washington, D.C., like we've seen in this big case involving the ACLU. In addition to that, it also requires that there be some kind of due process and reading someone their rights and giving someone notice that they're about to be deported, which has not happened, and the Trump administration has argued against that, saying that they actually don't need to do any of that. So in some ways, this is a victory for the attorneys who brought this case in the first place, because everyone, all 9 Supreme Court justices, as well as the appeals panel that overheard this case a couple of weeks ago, agrees that there needs to be some kind of adjudication, that the government, as we've reported on all day, Lindsay, needs to put some kind of check and balance in place to make sure that people who claim that they're not Tren de Aragua gang members can actually prove that in a court.
How are you going to prove that in a court? That you're not Tren de Aragua? Like, I don't know. How are you going to prove that? All right, so before we get into the next one, so the ruling was a 5-4 ruling, so it was really close. And the reason why it was really close is because one of the justices that Trump actually put in there, so for everybody who swears that, it's his courts, the Supreme Court is Trump's court because he put 4 justices in there. Well, not all of them are loyal to him, or, they're not conservative, better said. It's not even about loyalty because they care about the law, not really about him. Anna, I forgot her last name, Anna Conroy or Roy or whatever her face is. She's the reason why it was a close call, because she voted no. And she was sworn in by Trump. So this perspective that the progressives, not even the liberals, the progressives have, and the left media, the 4 justices are the reason why, he's going to get a bunch of wins of the Supreme Court. Not really, because just because he brought them in there doesn't mean they're going to side with his administration. And this was a great example of that. One of the people that he put in did not side with the administration, and she said no. So it was a really, really, really close call. 5-4 does not mean they completely agree with him. It means they sort of agree with him. Okay, so just wanted to put that out there. But yes, it now means that he can expedite deportations. They just have to have some type of due process to get them to prove that they're not Tren de Aragua, which I think is just a BS. Like, how are you going to prove that you're not a gang member? I don't know. Like, how are you going to prove that? Like, if you don't have any tattoos on you whatsoever, that's how you know that you're not. Like, I don't know. That's a little hard, but let's talk about this next one. El Salvador man deported by accident. I don't know how this happens by accident, but apparently it did. So let's look at his reaction to that.
The courts, we had a good decision, as you know, from the Supreme Court allowing us to do that. We have judges that didn't want us to do it. We have judges that wanted the very evil gang members from Tren de Aragua and MS-13. They didn't want them taken out of the country and put in very powerful prisons. When you look, you've all seen those clips, pretty amazing clips. But I want to thank El Salvador. They've done an incredible job. But we've been fortunately winning those cases. But we have judges that are out of control that say, bring them back, bring them back. We don't want them back. We don't want them back. Can you imagine? You spend all of that time, energy, and money on getting them out, and then you have a judge that sits there, a local judge who sits there, federal judges, sits there and says, no, bring them back. One was brought back, or they want to bring him back because he wasn't a member of Tren de Aragua. He was a member of MS-13, which is just as bad. So they misidentified him, but it sounds to me like he was a member of MS-13, so they want him brought back because he wasn't treated properly. It's we got to be smart. Our country's got to get a lot smarter than it is, but we have to give the people that are empowered to do this kind of work, and it's not pleasant work. We have to give them the option of making our country great again, and that's what they're doing.
All right, so just to add some information on that, this guy who got sent to El Salvador was not supposed to go back to El Salvador because he's here legally and he has some type of the reason why he can't get deported back to El Salvador is because he fears for his life because of some other gang that could kill him in El Salvador, which I think kind of insinuates that you are a gang member. Because if you're not a gang member, then why would you fear for your life that if you go back to your home country, a gang will end your life? Clearly, it's because you're part of the rivalry gang, and you don't want to be seen in El Salvador because, a gang can kill you. So, which I think there's kind of legitimacy that this guy is a gang member. Now, he's not Tren de Aragua, but he's still a gang member. So I think there's some it's reasonable to still deport him, just not to El Salvador. He can get deported to Honduras, or he can get deported to Mexico, or anywhere else. But he should still get deported because he's not a civilized citizen. So yeah, there's that. There's a lot of videos of him kissing his child, and of course the media wants to always make people look innocent when they're not, and that pisses me off. It's bro, why don't you just say the fucking truth? This guy is probably a gang member, hence why he doesn't want to go back to El Salvador because he's scared for his life, and just say that he should get deported somewhere else. That. Just say what's actually fucking going on. But of course, that's not their job, apparently. So let's move on to the next one. Is this the one with Khalil Mahmoud, whatever? Khalil Mahmoud? I can't say his name. Khalid Mahmoud?
It doesn't say.
All right, put it. Let's see what it is.
But it probably is.
Okay, cool.
Comes after a Maryland judge set a 5 p.m. deadline today on Garcia's location. Fox 5's Nana Sainto-Bonsu with the latest. Nana.
Hey, Julie, good evening. So there's a lot developing in this last hour on this Kilmar Abrego Garcia case. But the latest information, according to the Trump administration, is that 29-year-old Kilmar Abrego Garcia is, quote, alive and secure in a terrorism confinement center in El Salvador. And this is all from a source at the United States Embassy in San Salvador. Now, let's catch you up to speed on this case. Almost a month ago, Abrego Garcia was detained and deported by immigration agents to El Salvador. But the government later admitted that it was an administrative error. Since then, attorneys for Garcia and his wife have been fighting to get him back to the United States. The Supreme Court got involved in this back and forth between the Department of Justice and a Maryland district judge for the return of Garcia. The Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the DOJ must facilitate the return of Garcia. Now, District Judge Paula Zanis is requesting daily updates from the DOJ on the following. Where is Garcia? What has the government done so far to bring him back? And what is the government planning to do to carry out the court's order to take steps to bring Garcia back to the United States? Fox 5 spoke with an international attorney on the judge's specific daily order.
The judge is requiring this daily update exactly to put pressure on the government, because the hope from the judge, at least, is that the government is going to ultimately say, okay, we actually do have to comply with this order and we are going to have to do something about this. So the judge is putting pressure on the government, requiring a daily appearance by the government lawyers before this judge and inquiring on a daily basis as to exactly what the government is doing. Obviously, we all hope that the rule of law is followed. The Supreme Court has spoken. The Supreme Court has indicated that the government should follow the district judge's order.
All right.
And now, Julie, just...
Okay, cool. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I think he should still get deported and get deported to another country. I don't see why he should come back to this one if he's associated to a gang. I mean, they have to obviously prove it, but why would you fear for your life that a gang will hurt you in your country if you're not a part of another gang? I guess it doesn't make sense. But whatever, we'll see what happens. Can you find a picture before you get into that? Can you find a picture of Mahmoud Khalil, whatever his name is? Because I forgot to add that story in, but there's no really need. You just add a picture of him, that way we can remember what this guy looks like, and I can just clue you in on what's going on with this dude. Talking about the Palestinian guy, the organizer dude.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So while you're looking for that picture, so
we talked about him.
Yeah, I know, but there's an update on that. So the judge ruled that he can get deported. So they ruled that this guy can get deported. And of course, the lawyers are going to appeal, and he's going to stay in prison or jail, wherever he's at, in detainment, until, he's going to fight this in court pretty much until the end. That's pretty much what his decision is. He is fighting it until the end because he does have a wife here and a child, soon to be child. The wife is going to give birth any moment. So he's going to fight this until the end. But the reality is he's kind of already screwed because the judge already ruled that he can get deported. And a lot of people don't understand that when I put this on TikTok the other day, I realized that people don't really understand the difference between a legal resident, a permanent legal resident, and an American. And there's a very big difference. The difference is, ready? Americans cannot get deported from their own country. That is a difference. An American commits a heinous crime, massive shootings, and they cannot get deported regardless of what they did to their own citizens. However, a legal permanent resident can. And the scope of the reason to deport you is broad as fuck. So national security is a very big umbrella, and anything could be national security risk. I mean, I'm always going to go back to FDR. FDR was allowed, because of national security, to put American Japanese people in camps, bro. In camps, Americans. What makes people think that if you're a legal permanent resident, your ass cannot get deported? It's mind-boggling to me that people are like, no, this is wrong. No, dude, this is what it is. This is a reality. National security trumps everything. National security literally removes and limits American rights. So if it can limit American rights, what do you think it's gonna do to a legal permanent resident, guy? This is not rocket science. I mean, look at the Patriot Act. Look at what the Patriot Act did. This was, again, national security. We gave our privacy to the government for security. So what makes people think this person cannot get deported? Of course he can get deported. You are subject to deportation if you are not an American citizen, period. That is the biggest and only difference that we have. And because there is a massive difference, his Bill of Rights have way less limits than ours. And I've talked about that in my last lives, but I will talk about it over and over and over again until it makes people stick. Because if we are the same as a legal permanent resident, what is the value of being an American citizen? There is no value if he has the same rights as I do. So, you know what? This is going to sound fucked up, but I'm okay with his ass getting deported because it proves that there is a massive difference between me, American citizen, and him, permanent legal resident. Okay? So I just wanted to put that in there because, it wasn't part of the story, but I had to put that in there. All right. So before we get into this next story, this is a very sad story. Texas student gets killed by another Texas student. Very stupid reason to die. I'm going to talk more about it, but let's take a look at this. Very sad.
There was this kid, before I knew his name now, this kid was sitting under our tent at track. We asked him to move. He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." And he's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab.
Video from WFAA in Texas. Tragedy at a track meet. A teenage football life cut short. His family says he died in his twin brother's arms.
So sad,
the suspect, according to police, was a fellow high school athlete who allegedly brought a knife to a track meet and changed so many lives. Allegedly.
Why are you saying
in the course
allegedly?
of doing so. We're on the case presented by Law
gets
and
me so
Crime.
pissed.
I'm Chris Stewart.
He brought a knife. God, lawyers piss me off, bro. Allegedly. Like, no, he brought a knife. He stabbed him. There's no alleged.
It is hard to make sense of this story, and just wait until I tell you what the suspect in this case reportedly has told police about an alleged murder that happened in the middle of the week at a high school track meet in the middle of the day in Texas. This is Austin Metcalf. His family says he died in his twin brother's arms after he was stabbed at this track meet in Frisco, Texas, near Dallas. He was 17 years old, and his future on the field and in life was so bright. He was a junior at Memorial High School. He played football there. His dad says last season he was team MVP, and he had a 4.0 GPA in the classroom. According to his ex account, he was getting looks to play at the next level and by some big schools. Here he is at a recruiting event for the Arkansas Razorbacks. They play in the SEC. If you know college football, that is as big as it gets. He was a multi-sport athlete, and he was also on his high school's track team, which is who he was competing for on April 2nd at this stadium in his hometown of Frisco, about 40 minutes from Dallas. And if you've ever run track, you know these meets, there's a lot of downtime in between the events. Each team typically has its own spot to hang out, and Austin was reportedly under a tent with his teammates when rain started falling on Wednesday. KXAS TV in Dallas has the police report that states that the suspect, who goes to a different high school, was under Metcalf's team's tent, and he was told to move. Witnesses say the suspect then unzipped a bag, he reaches in and told Metcalf, quote, "Touch me and see what happens." That's when witnesses say Austin Metcalf got up and grabbed the suspect, who then allegedly took out a knife and stabbed Austin in the chest. Austin's twin brother told WFAA TV this.
And my brother stepped in and said, "You need to move." He's like, "Make me move." Austin grabbed his backpack. The kid, I tried to whip around as fast as I could, but I didn't see the stab. But then I look at my brother, and then I'm not going to talk about the rest.
Metcalf's family says that Austin died in his brother's arms. Here's a picture of the boys with their dad. This is the suspect. His name is Carmelo Anthony. He is facing a charge of murder. He is being held on $1 million bond. Even though I'm using the term alleged in this story because all defendants, all suspects are innocent until proven guilty, Anthony reportedly is not using that term. He told police, quote, "I'm not alleged, I did it." That is according to the arrest warrant obtained by KXAS TV. And according to the warrant, Anthony appears to think that he was in the right for allegedly killing Metcalf, claiming self-defense. We'll get into why his self-defense argument may not work in court in just a moment.
Carmelo Anthony, class of 2025, Centennial High School, Frisco, Texas.
Anthony was also a football player. This was him mic'd up for a tournament that was posted on YouTube, and he linked to it on his X account. Anthony's high school was just about 7 miles from where Metcalf went to high school. It appears up until Wednesday, August 2nd, Anthony had somewhat of a bright future as well, as social media shows that he was getting offers to play college football. At least his social media claimed that. Like these Division III schools in Texas and Louisiana, and this small school in Kansas. On Huddle, which is a social media site for football recruits, he wrote, quote, "God has shown you the right path, just take it." That was in his bio. Now he's facing the possibility of never being on a football field again, or frankly being a free person ever again, because he is charged with murder. We saw a user write to him on X saying, quote, "Ruined your whole future, dude." Now, if the allegations are true, if he's convicted, frankly, the only future that truly matters in this story is that of Austin Metcalf, a future that was ended, and the future of his family and how they heal after what happened at this track meet on Wednesday this week. Austin's dad has a GoFundMe page. It has raised nearly $200,000. At the time of this recording, the page includes pictures of Austin, his dad, and his twin brother from when they were young. His dad writes, quote, "He was a leader of men. His smile would light up the room. His passion for football was unbelievable." And it's hard not to get emotional looking at this picture of a dad and his sons just fishing, looking out at the water at a pond. and to think of everything that was taken away by an alleged decision this week. On that GoFundMe page, his dad finishes by saying, quote, "We will all remember him for the way he impacted others' lives. I love you forever, son. It's not goodbye. It's see you later. God will take care of us till we meet again. R.I.P. Love, Dad." Austin.
All right. So I've seen it enough and read enough to not be super upset about this. All my anger I've already released all of it, and now I'm just, focusing on, the logic and reason behind it. So you can't claim self-defense when there was no lethal threat. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a cop, I'm not a prosecutor, but this is like basic, criminal justice stuff. I do have some type of knowledge on that because I do have an associate's at least on that. And there was no lethal threat. The guy was in the wrong tent, first of all. What were you doing there in the first place? That wasn't your tent. That's one. Two, the guy told you to move. If you felt threatened, then you should have just left. Right? That makes sense. Especially if you're seeing that there's more than one person, you think you might get jumped or something, you'll be like, all right, my bad, I'm leaving. Regardless of the weather. Doesn't matter if it's raining, pouring, you're like, all right, no problem. And you leave because you don't want to get hurt. So you leave. That is the reasonable logic thing that a person would do. Okay? Instead, he provoked. That is what he did. Like, don't touch me, if not, find out, or whatever the hell he said. That's provoking. You had intentions to hurt this guy. Also, why would you bring a knife to attract me? That's another thing. So you brought a knife to attract me. You were in the wrong tent. You knew that tent was not yours. It was the other team. Why were you there in the first place? And again, if you felt like you were going to get jumped or something, you walk away because you don't want anybody to get hurt. And that's not what he did. Instead, he tried the kid. The kid, obviously, when you're in that stage, you're 17 years old, you want to show like you're an alpha or whatever, especially now with the Andrew Tates of the world, they want to show that they have, a puffed out chest. The kid touches the other kid, and then the kid stabs him in the chest. That's not, first of all, why would you even stab him in the chest? Like, you could have stabbed him in the arm, in the leg, to run. If you're gonna use the knife you have in your bag, why the chest? Out of all places, you could have hurt the kid. So, and then you immediately say self-defense? From what? The kid didn't have a gun. The kid didn't have a knife. What are you defending yourself from? Bro, first of all, the fact that he used self-defense, low as fuck. And second of all, I believe it was provoked. And at the same time, Matt Walsh brought this up, and I thought, and it was a very good point of view. It was out of lack of, he felt disrespected. And I was like, yeah, I agree with that. He felt disrespected that the kid was telling him to move, white kid, telling him to move. And he was like, you don't tell me what to do, Try me and find out. The kid didn't know that he was going to get stabbed in the chest and ends up, unfortunately, dying because, who would know that a kid would bring a knife to attract me? There's no way, because you're not supposed to. I said on Instagram, and Tim Pool was talking about people like me, you're not supposed to be saying death penalty. He's a minor. Who fucking cares if he's a minor? He's 17 years old, my guy. He's not fucking 10. He's 17 years old. Probably not even a virgin anymore. He's not a fucking little kid anymore. He's about to become an adult. There are kids that are literally treated as adults for the heinous crimes they've committed. So the fact that he's 17 doesn't scathe him from the death penalty. honestly. And if the prosecution can prove that he did provoke and there was intent, capital punishment should not be out of the table. Especially because, again, he literally killed him. The kid died instantly. It wasn't like a slow death. It was like an instant death. So, and he knew what he did too. That's why he said self-defense. He knew what he did. There's other people on TikTok saying that, maybe he went there because something about like they're like a rivalry school, and the kid had like smoked him in like a game, and he was just trying to get him back. Again, this is all like hearsay. Nobody fucking knows anything. But when it comes to the death penalty, I don't see why it shouldn't be ruled out of the picture. I don't think age has anything to do with it. He committed murder, and he should be tried for it. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. I'm not a Christian, all right? So, and even though this is a Christian country, if somebody murders another person, they should be murdered, period. Doesn't matter. I think that will definitely deter people. It will make them think twice in murdering other people. At least I think so. That's my opinion. But speaking of violence, let's look at an influencer gets punched in the face by a pro-choice person.
You have a channel? Yeah, we're doing some interviews today. Such a good vibe.
Such a good vibe, huh?
Should we kill the kids in foster care? Why not? Why not? If that's the case. We should kill the kids in foster care that aren't wanted. Who's going to take care of them? I need to know the percentage of people who take children from foster care and abuse them and molest them, who make them
doesn't mean they should
personal
die,
slaves.
bitch. The fuck?
We should just kill them. Statistics before you come to me talking about pro-life. We should kill the victims of molestation. I think. What does this have to do with molestation? You just mentioned people molesting children. We should kill the kids in foster care is what you said. What I'm saying is in general, overall. If I don't want to have a baby, I should have the choice to. Just don't have sex then. Even as teens, people explore. And it's like, as funny as you want to be, people should still have the choice. I think that you just don't understand the magnitude of having a child. I'm not the one who admitted they would be okay with killing babies in foster care and killing children that have been abused. That's not the point. What I'm saying. That's really.
That's not the point.
You have a channel? Yeah, we're doing some interviews today.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
That was so sudden.
Super sudden. And why did that happen? Because she didn't know how to defend her argument. She was getting slaughtered when she voluntarily chose to have that conversation. And because she didn't want to just walk away like a civilized, reasonable person, she punches the bitch in the face. Like, I call all women bitches, so it's not, something personal. All right, so I'm going to just read the New York Times story. If you can put me back on while I read this. Okay, so the woman who sucker punched a pro-life activist during a street interview has been arrested for the brazen on-camera attack. Thank God, right? Brianna J. Rivers, 30. She's 30 years old. Bitch, where? Oh my God, she's 30. She is my age, and she looks like that? This is why obesity is evil. Like, we need to do something about that. She looks like she's hitting 45. Easy. All right, so was arrested Thursday on one account of second-degree assault for her callous beating of activist Savannah Craven Antau during a street interview on the topic of abortion last week, according to the NYPD. Just got word from Detective Brianna J. Rivers was arrested. God is good. All right, so that was what happened there. That was a tweet. Okay. So the ham-fisted alleged assailant was taken into custody Thursday morning for the boorish assault that took place during a filmed interview in Harlem last Thursday. Okay, let me see here. You don't understand the magnitude of having a child, okay. Okay, the assailant then departed yelling, "Suck my dick." Okay. Craven Antal suffered 2 cuts that left blood streaming down her face and chest, injuries that reported required several stitches. Rivers subsequently claimed on social media that she was provoked. She was provoked. Okay. We all saw the video, hun. You were not provoked. You chose to go there to have that uncomfortable conversation that should be had. Totally. I think we should have more of those conversations without the violence, of course. And you just didn't know how to defend your argument, and you punched her in the face. There was no provoking. But okay. Okay, so to Savannah, I sincerely apologize, but cannot sit around and allow you to continue pushing this one-side narrative. This was a video she put on Facebook. I understand hands being put on someone is never the answer, so why did you do it? But throwing rocks and hiding hands is worse. What? She knows the truth and she needs to release the footage in its entirety. Savannah is a professional antagonist, not a reporter. Then why did you talk to her then? And the truth will be told, she concluded. The entire interview, including the flying fist, was fully documented on the video shared by... Yeah, the whole video was put on. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But the whole video, bitch, we saw the whole video. Rivers started a GoFundMe page, so the chick who punched... where she begged for money to hire a defense attorney. The page had raised $8,695 at the time of publication. Bro, who are these people that are funding this? The kid that stabbed the other kid also got, like, I don't know how many accounts of people funding, because he had like $1 million something bond. So they're trying to like pay for the bond. And it's like, no, he needs to learn what it means to not do what he did. Like, he needs to fucking stay in there. Stay behind bars, bro. Like, you know what the fuck you did. You're 17 years old. You're not 10. Like, your brain is very developed already at that time for you to know that stabbing somebody in the chest could, 9 out of 10, kill them indefinitely. So, come on. And then this chick, I don't know. I honestly don't know why we're allowing violent people to get funded. I don't, whatever. I guess, we live in a free country. That's why. But it's just wrong. It should be against the guide, what do you call that? The community guidelines or whatever of the app. That should be one of them. I think GoFundMe stopped one of them, but there's another one that didn't. So in the Facebook video, because I can't put it because I don't have Facebook. In the Facebook, she pretty much is saying that she's the victim in the story because she was provoked by Savannah. And I'm like, this is exactly the example of the left. They're the most violent, but they are the ones that cannot be blamed because they're so righteous. That's why they had to be violent. And because they had to be violent because of how righteous they are, they're not in the wrong. We're in the wrong for saying that they're the bad ones. She's a perfect example of that. And I hope that she stays behind bars too for a little bit. She can't stay in there for life because she didn't really, she didn't do what the other guy did. But people need to learn that you can't just be, stabbing people, punching people. Like, you can't do that, bro. Sorry. We live in a law and order country, and you need to abide by the laws. If not, go another country. Go to Cuba. Go to another country that accepts that. Not here. So, let's talk about something that's interesting. Let's end it with science. All right.
Ooh.
Yeah, science. Before I get into that,
okay.
Jose says something here. But usually when I ask them, they're talking about. But usually when I ask someone where they're from or what their nationality, usually they tell me their parents were born, but they're American because they were born here, not where their parents were born at. Yeah. People, instead of just saying you're American, you say, oh, my parents were born, like, but I didn't ask you where your parents were born. You were born here, so you are American. Like, even us, that we were not born here, we were born in Cuba, we still say we're American, Now, if you tell me what is my ethnicity, I'm going to say I'm Cuban. But my nationality is American. This is the nation I live in. This is the nation I was raised in. I'm American. I'm also a citizen already, so I can say I'm American. But yeah, people, I don't know why they have this like weird attachment to where their parents were born. It's like stupid because it doesn't matter. You weren't born there, you were born here. So, Harvard scientist claims Mars was wiped out by nuclear war. Interesting. Very interesting.
Playing the video?
No. I'm just gonna read this.
Oh.
All right, so check this out.
So many ads.
I mean, you don't have to put that. I'll read it on my end because I don't get any ads.
Well, this thing is pretty cool though, the pictures.
Okay, well, I guess put the pictures.
Oh, the green parts can't show it because I don't know. I guess with a green screen, this would happen. It looks black. Anyway, go on.
Okay. So an ancient civilization on Mars was wiped out by a nuclear attack from another alien race. It might sound like the plot of a science fiction novel, but Harvard scientist Dr. John Bradenberg believes this catastrophic event really happened. According to his bizarre theory, oh god, bizarre, people are already like putting it down. The doctor says ancient Martians known as Kydonians and Utopians were massacred in the attack, and evidence of the genocide can still be seen today. Back in 2011, the scientists first postulated that the red color on Mars could have been due to a naturally occurring thermonuclear explosion, claiming chemical elements in the red planet's surface match those around nuclear test sites on Earth. Mainstream scientists have argued there is no credible physical evidence, of course, such as a crater or fallout signatures, which points to an artificial or sudden nuclear explosion, and have highlighted that the paper was published in a relatively low-level scientific journal. God. The elitism. On the Danny Jones podcast, which has over 1 million subscribers, guests Jason Reza and Giorgiani, a philosophy PhD and science fiction writer, reshared Dr. Bradenberg's study, calling it alarming evidence that life once existed on Mars. Every planet has a certain amount of isotopes of different materials on it, and apparently the isotope ratio of xenon 129 is consistent across the entire solar system, except for Mars, he said. So, while found naturally, xenon 129 is also released during nuclear fusion. That's why he thinks that. NASA has detected higher than expected levels of the isotope xenon 127 on Mars in the Cydonia region. The region in the planet's northern hemisphere is famous for apparent man-made megalithic structures, which is a face. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. They showed us that back in elementary, I remember. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. And then they try to cover it up afterwards.
Yes, they did try to cover it up.
Because you can see Mars through Google Earth. If you didn't know that, by the way. And then you can actually go look at this face, which now they've airbrushed it and to make it look like a mountain. You're not going to see this anymore.
No. But the government agency has never confirmed there was a civilization on Mars. Of course, that's, God forbid they say the truth for once. When you put the CIA's data next to Bradenberg's thesis, this nuclear event took place maybe 100 million years ago. That's crazy. John McMoneagle was tasked with remote viewing Mars in 1984. Remote viewing.
Remote viewing is real.
Yeah, man.
There's CIA
crazy.
documents about remote viewing.
That's
like
crazy.
They did studies on this. They trained soldiers to do this.
Insane.
It's a real thing.
They're actually open about it now, which is good.
It's actually one of our abilities. We can all do it.
Yeah.
Some of us better than others, but we can all do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, just like telepathy is something that
we
can
too.
also do.
Mm-hmm.
When McGono was doing this remote viewing session, he described being in the midst of the ruins of a megalithic city with gigantic pyramids, said Reza Giorgiani. He said they seemed like they were maybe 3 times the size of the Great Pyramids in Giza.
Wow.
Yeah. Magano recently shared the experience last month on the American Alchemy podcast, saying, I started getting an image of human beings that were trapped in a place where the atmosphere is turning red. It was obvious these people were dying for some reason, but they were humans. They were just twice our size. McMoneagle, I don't know if I'm saying that right, obtained negatives of the Martian landscape, showing a pyramid-shaped structure on the edge of a giant impact crater where he had seen it in the CIA experiment. Damn, bro. All right, well, yeah, that's about it for that. So, man, all right, so putting my tinfoil hat on. Okay, so I don't think, because we heard about the story many years ago. They're just putting that out now again because podcast is now a big thing. So people are going now on podcasts and talking about it. But many moons ago, when podcast was not a thing, people that were really into it, were looking into these stories. And there's a theory that a group of Martians left Mars and came to Earth, and they're living among us. So I thought that was, and there's a movie called They Live, which I highly recommend you go and watch, because it's a movie from, I think it was the 70s or the 80s?
I believe it was the 80s. Yeah.
Right, the 80s, where it's a guy
I'll look it up.
who puts on these glasses and he can see reality for what it truly is. I don't know if you can actually put it though, because, copyright or whatever.
Yeah, but I can put images and stuff like that.
So in the movie, there are creatures living among us that you could only see with the glasses. And when I saw this movie...
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's that they look like regular people.
Yes, without the glasses.
But it's not everybody. It's some people.
Yeah, it's exactly. Right.
You can only see it if you put on the glasses.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, I thought, okay, if you're into this whole, alien stuff, Laz and I are, then you know that there's different types of aliens. And the aliens that we think are the ones who caused this catastrophic event in Mars are reptilians, because they're the ones that are, very pro-war and death and destruction and all that jazz. So, and I think it's interesting that right now we're in a reality where we're in a doomsday type of I don't know how state, because we're at war with a country that has the most nuclear weapons, which is Russia. So there's so much, there's so much going on that I think that there's some type of connection with the wars that are going on right now and this theory that, a Harvard scientist is actually open about, open to the idea that this could be a thing. This could be true. We don't know. We have no idea. But it's definitely worth talking about. It's worth, speculating, because we don't fucking know. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in, for joining, and subscribe, become a truth seeker, and I'll see you guys next Sunday.